On the Big J Show, and joining us right now is Ivanka Trump. Ivanka, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. It's very good to talk to you. I've been a fan of yours for many years.
Oh, well, thank you. Likewise.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very much. You're one of those cool people because you're kind of like my perfect woman. You know, you're good looking and you're also successful, which is hard to find these days. It's usually one or the other.
Well, thank you. Yes. I don't want to be argumentative. I'll just accept the compliment.
Well, exactly. Well, what's going on in life right now? You've got a lot. I was watching the Celebrity Apprentice last night. I know your family's one of those families that doesn't really say, hey, we're successful, we're going to sit back. You guys are always working on something.
We are, and it's a very exciting time, and I think that, with the market starting to recover and, basically just confidence sort of soaring once again, which is a great feeling. It's particularly interesting every day coming into work. So, on the real estate front, we're as active as we've ever been. We're still starting to find, or we're still finding some distress in the market, and then we, obviously have other opportunities through our Trump Hotel collection. I have a wonderful book that has become a bestseller and that I'm very excited about, which I'm here to talk about today, which has just come out in paperback, which is great. We have The Celebrity Apprentice, which is doing very well in the ratings, and the live finale is coming up very soon. Shoe lines, etc. So it's quite an exciting time for us.
A little of everything. Well, let's jump right to that book really quickly here. The book, The Trump Card. Tell people who's the book geared towards and what's it all about?
Well, it's geared towards two specific demographics. The first is the young males and females who wrote me after seeing me on The Apprentice to ask basic advice about how to identify their passion, how to pick their career, how to master the interview. And I think they wanted the advice from somebody who remembers the process themselves, as opposed to, 1,000 feet in the sky. Most of the advice books are written from the standpoint of 60-year-old males reflecting back on a long career, which is fine, but it's just a little less relatable. So that was one subset. I think the other is I get a tremendous amount of correspondence from parents who would ask how my parents chose to raise my brothers and I to instill in us a certain level of discipline, motivation, drive. So I really tried to address both groups.
And that's something to hit on, too. I mean, because a lot of I can understand parents writing letters like that. You see families with as much money and success as yours do. I mean, your dad's Donald Trump. It's like he could have chosen to let you guys kind of just play around and ride horses, and throw money at you and let you know you're going to be set for life. But instead, however he did it, he made it so you guys went out and made lives for yourselves, even though you probably could have just sat back.
Well, I think that, I think one of the first misconceptions, and I think one of the keys to how both my parents chose to raise us was that they wouldn't have let us just sit back. So, people ask me, why I choose to work 15-hour days as opposed to hang out on the beaches of Saint-Tropez, and I just respond that the latter is not an option if I'm expecting somebody to subsidize my life. So, they always approached work from the standpoint of making us really earn everything that was given to us, and that continues today.
That's very cool. Was there ever a temptation to not work? I mean, was there ever a time when you were younger, when you were first getting into the working world, and you had some setbacks, and you thought, you know what, wouldn't it be nice just to have this all paid for, and I wouldn't have to go through this? Or were you always just super motivated to stay working?
Yeah, honestly, no, and I think that's the key to being successful. It's loving what you're doing. So, of course, in most professions, how well you're compensated is a validation of how well you're performing, although sometimes there's a disconnect. But no, I think the key is showing up to the office because you love what it is that you're working on. And if that's not your driving motivation, I don't think you'll ever be successful. So that's why I spend a lot of time in the book encouraging young people to find out what it is that they love, and equally valuable, what it is that they thought they liked but end up not enjoying. So, being young is about a time, is really a time for experimenting and taking calculated professional risks to make sure that you discover and unearth what it is that's, going to drive you for the next 30 years.
I see. You meant experimenting in the business sense. I see.
I think it's extremely important. but I'm sure there are other experiments which you may have been alluding to.
Exactly. Was it looking back on business, the book, The Trump Card, kind of goes through, how you achieved your success and advice for other people to achieve success at a young age. Was it a plus or a minus for you being a Trump? I've always wondered that, like if you're, a Kennedy or if you're related to a president or something, it's like, I've always wondered, it probably opens a lot of doors, but then again, it probably makes some things harder because people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to, get involved with that. Like, what if I make her dad mad or something? Do you think it was a plus or a minus for you when you started working?
I definitely think, for the most part, it was a plus. I think the negatives are, obvious when you're a young, insecure kid working at a real estate organization that doesn't have the Trump name on the front door. Just sort of the pressures attendant with that were obviously challenging when you're, less confident and have had less professional achievements to sort of bolster you. But, I do think that, it has afforded me just amazing opportunities, but, it's really up to me to capitalize on them. So, opening a door is one thing, but, walking through and executing is another. So I think in my case, most people will take the meeting if I call, but when I show up, they probably expect less of me than somebody else. So, that's the balance.
Excellent. Do you know anything about Bret Michaels? We talked about Celebrity Apprentice a little bit earlier. Do you know any word if he's going to be back for the finale, or are you not super hands-on this season?
No, well, I am. It was an interesting season because I happened to be, my book was launching, I was working my regular day job, and I was getting married all during filming.
Yeah, that'll keep you busy.
There were a few absences on my part, but, thank God it appears that Brett is, on the right track and moving towards full recovery, which is just wonderful and a real miracle.
Excellent. Yeah, that's really good to hear. The book, The Trump Card, it's available for anybody here, anybody that's younger, even older people that want to kind of get in touch with the younger working person. But great advice for anybody that's, getting into the working world, that's not having some success in the working world, and obviously coming from somebody who's been there, done that. You've kind of run the gamut, I'm sure, of all these young people type jobs. And real quick for people here in Montana, any real estate advice? Buy, sell, sell?
It really depends on the opportunity you're looking at. I think that, which is something that Montana doesn't lack, one of the areas we're seeing the most opportunity is in land plays. So, that's an area we're looking at very carefully and just sort of, acquiring land and banking it.
We would love to have some sort of a Trump property here in Montana. There was a billionaire's resort up here, Ivanka, just memory bank this, and it went bankrupt. And the guy's like totally shady, but he's having to sell everything off. Like Bill Gates had a place up there.
I've spent a lot of time looking at the Yellowstone.
Yes.
So I know exactly what you're referring to.
Yeah, that's what I'd love that to be a Trump property.
It's a very interesting property.
Excellent. Well, hey, Ivanka, you've been great. The book is called The Trump Card. Pick it up today. And Ivanka Trump, thanks so much for joining us this morning on The Big J Show.
Thank you. Anytime.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
The Big J Show. Weekday mornings from 6 till 10 on Billings #1 hit music station, Hot 101.9.